There's a lot of short-form journalism, there's social journalism, there's small grabs here and there. Now, what platforms do you think are around now and will be around in the future for young journalists to learn the true craft of journalism, or is the true craft of journalism dying?
Absolutely not.
I knew the newspaper man would save us.
I think if I was advising anyone wanting to come into our industry right now, I would say what we're looking for is kind of T-shaped professionals, and that is probably the day of the generalist is coming to an end. What people are looking for now is expertise. You need to have something more. You need to be, an economics expert, or you need to be an expert in international affairs, or you need to have another string to your bow. The idea of just being a generalist is probably not a good place to be, and that's what we're looking for now.
And Andrew, we've talked about that before, about your writers are genuine experts in the space that they're writing in.
Yeah, I mean, I slightly disagree with you, Alan. The crisis is the erosion within every newsroom of specialists. I've just come back from the UK, and everybody talks about how newspapers used to... In fact, this is a funny story. The guy who interviewed me for The Times gave me his card, because we're talking about specialists, and it says environment editor, and he said, we've just got rid of the environment job. He said, I'm sorry, my card still says environment editor. He said, we don't have one anymore. So there was a great example where the Times now doesn't have an environment editor anymore. And what they're doing is they're actually replacing it with generalists, because generalists can do more stories in different subject areas. And they're like taxi cabs, they come in the morning, they say I'm for hire. The news editor says, cover that story, they do that job, and then they put their sign up again saying, I'm back free for hire, sort of thing. Hence the term hacks. But the real problem is the shallowing or hollowing out of newsrooms, where there are fewer and fewer specialist people who really know what they're talking about. But to your question, look, I find this a difficult one, because I think there are far too many universities and colleges churning out journalism students, and there aren't jobs for them. I mean, Alan and I know at Fairfax they've cut back on the internships. When I started, there were 20. It went down to 5. It went up slightly after that, but they're selling actually a bit of a lie in terms of getting journalism jobs. The jobs will be in PR, and there are studies which show right now 70% of newspapers are filled with PR releases. And there was that fantastic tweet where somebody said on the day that Fairfax was sacking people, goody goody means that we can get more of our stuff into the newspapers, So the jobs are going to be in PR and elsewhere. I have a real worry. I mean, I'm seriously worried about this area, but I think we're kidding on a lot of young people that there are jobs in journalism. What there are going to be jobs in is new things that, that I'm doing and other people are doing. And, we're employing 18 people here, another 8 in London. Those are new jobs from nowhere. But they're not going to replace all the people that went. And in the US, for example, 10 years ago, there were 60,000 journalists. It's down now to 30,000. Where will it be in 10 years' time? Yeah. So it is very much in crisis. However, and I go back to what Andy said, out of all this turmoil and disruption of digital and everything else, will emerge new things. And I was talking to the editor of Washington Post about this recently, and he said, look, the way I see it is, I'm on one side of the river, I have to cross this torrent that's running through me, which has got a few stones which are covered in moss. And if I can cover this torrent and get to the other side, that's the future of journalism. And he said, I can tell you, I don't think the Washington Post will be on the other side of the river. But, he said, there will be new players that will come along and will be doing different things. And I don't think we can predict what those are. I also don't think the paywall is the salvation to the future of journalism. I think the kind of areas Andy was touching upon, there's going to be new ways of actually funding the media. But one of the things I can tell you is a model where you have at Fairfax, the focus of the entire business was on how we get advertising in. It wasn't on how we can produce better journalism. Oh no, there's no discussions about that, as Alan will testify. We tried to talk about that, but it's all about how can we cut jobs so that we can stay ahead of the game. So they had huge advertising teams trying to sell it into a declining market. And by the way, Martin Sorrell from WPP has already said that the world's agencies are spending too much on print, so they're going to cut back even further on print. So what you're going to have, I think, is new ways.
Be careful with that, though.
Yeah.
It's not his money.
Well, he's going to recommend less is spent on.
But he's banking on us listening.
So Andy, as a marketer and as a guy that helps fund the media, where do you see the future of journalism?
I think it's incredibly important that large advertisers do not view themselves as funding the media. I think that is an absolutely dangerous thing in society. You know, we certainly, large institutions have sort of a social license to operate thing. We're certainly participating and supporting the media is an important part of that. But the media does need to stand apart as a product in its own right, uninfluenced as much as it can be by its advertisers.
Can I just show you this?
And I just think, yeah, I know, it's
The
shocking.
Sydney Morning Herald today.
Yeah.
It's called a cover wrap. They're like $4.99 now. But I do think there is this like really, you know, I always look at newspapers, and the newspaper guys have heard me give this rant before, and I'm like, I'm an old marketer at heart, so I look at it and I go, let's start with the product. Okay? You deliver your product in a hermetically sealed cellophane wrapper that's impenetrable by humans onto my front lawn early in the morning. I can't even be bothered getting down, going to get it. I just, you know, I can lay in bed, switch on my tablet, and there's the news. Tablet wins. You have to fix that. You have to make the product great. Why do I go down every Sunday morning and buy the Financial Times from the local newsagent? It's a beautiful product. It's a beautiful product with quality journalism in it. And I love it for that. I'll always go get it. You know, it's not the same on the tablet. That product is special. Why do I get Messenger Collective? Why do I get Dumbo Feather? Why do I get Monocle Magazine? They're great products. They're made beautifully with rich journalistic content. You get the product right. People buy your product. Yeah. You walk into any of the hip, cool stores in Melbourne or Sydney right now, and there are stacks of unique format magazines for sale. Interno, Serial Magazine. They're stacking up in there at bloody 12 to 15 bucks a pop. And people are buying them because they're great products with relevant content. So I actually think we've been through that inevitable curve in journalism, and all industries go through it, where an age of excess, where large volumes were hired, is being replaced with a new age, which is a little more efficient and leaner. But I think it's just an incredible time to go and be a journalist. I mean, I just imagined start my blog on whatever and get going from there and get credibility based on the content I produce and find a sponsor and get some advertisers and plug into the Google clickstream and bam, you know.
So Tim, you know, we've just been told that we don't need advertisers in the media, or they should be funding.
You need advertisers.
Yeah, the media should be able to stand alone. The media should be able to stand alone.
Look at the amount of crap I've had to put up from him. I mean, so he's a great example.
The media should be able to stand alone without the support of the advertisers. Yeah. What have you got to say to that?
Well, it's a no-brainer. That's always been the case. Always will have to.
But isn't there a blurred line now where native advertising, custom content might be taking over real content?
There always has been a blurred line. I can remember working on a local paper, you know, more than 15 years ago, and you know, watching the editor kill a story that was about a local garage that happened to be a big advertiser. Now, he told them that he was killing the story because it was a badly written story, and you knew that wasn't the truth of it. It's always been blurred lines.
It's always been there, but isn't it more obvious now?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's the risk. Now, you know, native advertising is we're going to find ourselves talking about that in the years to come. I'm sure, and it goes to Andrew's point, which is this is where a lot of these people going through journalism colleges are going to end up working.
Well, that's right. Are they copywriters or are they journalists?
Many people are going to end up working in the branded content industry, not in what journalism as we know it. Whether they realise it or not, that's the career option that's going to be available to them.
Yeah, Lisa, what do you think about that? You're big on custom content.
Sorry?
You're big on custom content, branded content.
Yeah, look, I think to everyone's point, I think, you know, if I was selling, I mean, we're a new product. We've had 2 magazines out. We've been alive for 11 weeks or something. If I was relying on, you know, selling 40 ads at $5,000 a page at the moment, that gives me $200,000. That doesn't even cover my print bill. So from a commercial standpoint, we have to look at multiple channels, but not just for the sake of, you know, bringing on board partnerships. I think at the end of the day, it comes back to community and what they want, and that's the only way that we can operate. And so, yeah, and I think, I mean, we're not syndicating content in, but CommBank, for example, use some of our content and syndicate it out across multiple channels. It's going across multiple channels across social media. It's sliced and diced in every which way possible. So I just think, you know, we need to look at doing things very, very differently to how they've been done traditionally.